Hi, everybody. This is David Coleman, Director of Product Marketing here at Extreme Networks. And I want to welcome you to the first demo hall session for Extreme Connect. I am actually doing this live from Lake Chapala, Mexico, where I have one of my homes. And it's actually Independence Day here in Mexico. So if you hear any cannons going off or fireworks, that's what's going on. A little bit of quick housekeeping, ladies and gentlemen, and that is to please ask your questions in the chat window. We are limited on time. I only have about 28 minutes. So in that time span, if we don't get to your question, we're going to post a URL to the hub where you can visit post this session, and we will definitely get to any question, all the questions that were asked, as well as you can ask questions after this session. So please take that and use that to your advantage. So let's go ahead and get started. So what we're here for is about branch routing and remote networking. And in today's world, remote networking has become even more important than just in enterprise networking. None of us like COVID, none of us like the pandemic, but I think it's all kind of made us realize that remote networking, even once this stupid thing is gone and away, remote networking is going to have a permanent place in the enterprise. And so what I thought we'd do in this demo to show you our remote networking solutions that are available via ExtremeCloud IQ is we do a scenario. And the scenario would be healthcare, which is a perfect vertical for remote access solutions, networking solutions. But in honesty, it can apply to a lot of different verticals and a lot of different enterprises. So in this example right here, where you have a healthcare organization, you have maybe a big hospital, your main headquarters for this healthcare organization. That's where most of the IT and data resources reside. But guess what? You have several different scenarios in terms of remote access needs. Number one, you might have permanent remote clinics. So you might have like the doc in a box clinics where you go and get a quick checkups, or maybe an elderly care clinic that are distributed in many locations. There needs to be a way to provide remote networking access for them. There could also be pop-up clinics like right now that's going on with all this testing. But that's a different kind of scenario, and it's more kind of similar to the remote home user. So you think of it this way: a lot of us right now, we're working out of our houses, right? But you still need a way to access corporate resources, and so there needs to be a way to provide for basically the teleworker at homes. It could also be pop-up clinics. So the healthcare workers could be working out of their house. They're typically going to be defined by a small client population, maybe one or two people. And the data that they're trying to get is access back at headquarters. The clinics, on the other hand, the remote clinics are a little bit bigger, obviously. They're going to have numerous clients, numerous employees. Data is kind of distributed. There's going to be data needs locally as well as data needs that are located at the headquarters. In both scenarios, there's no remote IT staff. So you need a zero-touch deployment strategy, basically meaning that it just has to work and it has to be up all the time. And the people in both scenarios need to be able to just deploy it. They need to be able to plug the routers or their APs in and get a VPN network up and running. And of course, to end it all, you need some sort of remote management solution and monitoring. And how are you going to do that? Well, the way to do that is with ExtremeCloud IQ. So I laid out a couple scenarios in healthcare, the clinics, as well as the remote healthcare workers at their home, trying to get corporate resources. As it turns out, we have a way to provide both solutions. So here's your spoiler alert. Extreme offers remote access solutions for both. Okay, via ExtremeCloud IQ as a management platform. So let's talk about the network extension, your layer 2 solution. That would be your teleworker solution. So effectively what you're trying to do is you're trying to stretch the corporate network across the internet, across a VPN link, back to the teleworker's home, into their home. So all your IP addressing and data is central. All your IP addressing is controlled centrally at headquarters, and then all your traffic is centrally forward. The advantages of this is it's very, very simple to deploy. And this is what a layer 2 VPN solution, and this can work with any of the ExtremeCloud APs, can basically extend the corporate network to anybody's home, and it's quite popular. Now, when you start thinking of VPN solutions, probably a more traditional VPN solution is a routed network or a layer 3 IPsec VPN, where you have point-to-point VPN links between sites, and we have a hub-spoke design that you're actually going to see and we're going to talk about. But basically, you're going to have some sort of VPN gateway platform that's at the head end, that'll learn about corporate traffic, forward that traffic down to each branch network. Your IP addressing is a little bit different here because your IP addressing is not centralized. It is unique at each branch site. And then your traffic forwarding is distributed. Some of the traffic is going to be forwarded locally at each branch site where our clinics, our remote clinics are going to be, or some traffic can be tunneled up the VPN tunnel like you can in a traditional VPN solution. So to talk a little bit more about it, we make it pretty easy in ExtremeCloud IQ, and we provide what we call automated network allocation. And you can do this for multiple networks with our layer 3 solution. So using ExtremeCloud IQ, what you'll see in the demo is you can define a parent management network, in this case 192.168.0.0/16. And from that, for all the management traffic at each branch site, I can partition and subnet that parent network. And in this case, I'm using a /25. And what that makes available to me for management traffic at each branch site, I can have as many as 512 branches for the management traffic. Now, it's not just for management traffic. I can do this also for client traffic, and I can do this for wireless client traffic, wired client traffic, maybe traffic that's specific for medical devices. You can have multiple client VLANs with associated subnets. And it's the same thing. You define a parent network, and then from that parent network, you can do this auto provisioning. And with this auto provisioning, you can subnet out, do automatic subnetting. You can also do it manually, and we'll try to show you that in the demo. But in this case, I've defined a parent network for, say, wireless connectivity, and then I am subnetting it using a /26, so I can actually make that, in this case, available to 16 different branches. The other cool thing about all this is that we have a hub-spoke design. It's a layer 3 VPN hub-spoke design. And at the head end, you have your VPN gateways. Your VPN gateways will learn about all the corporate routes using RIP or OSPF. And then they will share those corporate routes down the VPN tunnel to every branch site using a TCP exchange mechanism once a minute. Additionally, the local networks that have been allocated to each branch is also shared with all the other branches. And that way, if branch A, if a remote clinic in Atlanta needs to contact a remote clinic in, say, the United Kingdom, that can be done, and it can be done via the hub-spoke design because all the routing is shared through the centralized head-in gateway. So with that, let's go ahead and jump straight into a demo, and we're going to show you ExtremeCloud IQ. So what you're looking at, I'm going to start with a monitoring view right here. And from a monitoring view, we have this dashboard right here, and we're looking at a WAN monitoring view. And we're looking at it over 24 hours, but I can do this over a week, a month, 90 days, or longer. And in this case, I have 3 branches with 3 branch routers, and I can see during this 24-hour period, I pretty much have 100% availability. I can also see the total WAN usage for all 3 branch sites. Okay, but then I can get a little bit more granular. So I can click on any one of the branches right here. I'll just click on the Atlanta clinic, for example. And on the Atlanta clinic, I can see during this 24-hour period that 642 megs of traffic went through the Excuse me, I clicked on the wrong one. There we go. There we go. I see that 45 megs went through the Atlantic WAN link, and then another 3 megs went through his VPN link in this 24-hour period. Now, I can also look at this in an individual router. So I'm just going to, everything's hyperlinked. So I'm going to click on one of my branch routers that's at a clinic, in this case, in the United Kingdom. Okay. And the same thing from a monitoring view, I have the timeline available to us. And that's one of the advantages of cloud is you have various timeline views, and you can look at things historically, but you can see once again over this 24-hour period, my WAN availability, it was pretty much 100%. But I did have some glitches. I actually had a little glitch right here, and that's actually okay. I want to see if there's a problem. I actually know that why that happened right there is because my colleague actually rebooted this device right there. But typically, you want to see 99.999% uptime. Same thing with latency over this 24-hour period. You see I have latency that varies between 11 milliseconds and 12, to maybe up to 14 in one case. That's pretty good latency statistics. And then over the 24-hour period, you can see when you had the heaviest use period, and we actually had some heavy use in the United Kingdom at this time in the morning for that clinic. Now, to get all this from a monitoring view, well, actually, let me show you one more thing from a monitoring view. Let's go take a look at this branch, and let's take a look at its networks. And you can see that this branch was allocated some very specific networks, a management network, and some internal networks for the wired and wireless devices. And you can see that right there. We're going to show you how to configure that in just a minute. And then you can see some clients that have actually gotten connected as well. In the healthcare industry, very often a lot of medical devices need to have a static address. So once they've been assigned an IP address, you can then reserve that IP address if you'd like, and then they can use that IP address statically at the remote site. So to get all this working, you have to be able to configure it, right? And that's the nice thing, is that we make configuration pretty easy as well. So I have a network policy here called Small Clinic. Let's take a look at that. So our main focus here is branch routing, but I want you to know in front of any XR600 branch router, you can absolutely stick wireless access points, and that's one of the great things about network policies. You can create a network policy for your wireless, your switching, and your routing all together. As you can see right here, for my wireless network, I have 4 SSIDs that are being broadcast out at the branch site for the APs that are in front of the routers. But our main focus is on routing. So let's take a look at the routing settings. So I'm clicking on my routing tab right here. And what I mainly want to show you here is network allocation. And we are focusing on the layer 3 solution right now, but later in this presentation, we're also going to show you layer 2. So as I mentioned, we can do network allocation. We can automate a lot of that. And so right here, you can see all the VLANs that you want to provide at each remote site, okay? And then the correlated subnets. So let's take a look at the management one. Whoops, take a look at the management one. Didn't want to do that. Go back one more time. That's the beauty of demos. You always click on the wrong thing. Okay, try that again. All right, so let's take a look at the management subnet right there. And you can see right there is my parent network. And then my parent network, I have subnetted using this slider bar, and I can have that management traffic at up to 512 branches with up to 125 clients. Now I can adjust that by adjusting that just simply using this slider bar, and I'll let ExtremeCloud IQ do all the subnetting for me. Makes my life easier. I don't have to be thinking about subnetting. But what about for wired and wireless clients? So I'll take a look at this right here. And here I have some wireless traffic, and I've defined a network type called internal use. That would be for wired traffic or wireless traffic that you want to route back up through the VPN tunnel. So once again, I have a very specific parent subnet right here, and you can see that right there. But then I can do the partitioning, okay? And based on my needs and my branch, how many branches and how many clients, I can let the subnetting be done for me automatically. So you can provide IP subnets remotely at each site. And bottom line is, based on that parent network, as branch routers connect, from that pool, they will pull down one of the available subnets. Now, can you do this manually? And the answer is yes. Once you've created that parent network and you have a pool, if you connect the devices, they will grab, it's basically on a first come, first serve basis. But another thing you can do as well before you connect the branch routers for the first time, if you absolutely want to make sure it gets a very specific subnet at that branch site, you can select it from that pool right there and it will be assigned that. One last thing I'd like to show you is we have, as I mentioned, we have different types of networks. We have the management and internal, which are indeed partitioned, but we also have a guest network. And for the guest network type, if you choose to do it this way, you're basically using the same subnet at every branch site because the guest traffic is going to be routed off locally and not go through the VPN tunnel. And we actually apply an automatic firewall policy on the branch router when you do this. Okay, so let's look at a few more things, and then I'll ask for a few questions in just a minute. So that's the network allocation. Let's take a look at the VPN services capability. So it's got to talk to a head-in, right? So I'll go right in here. And on the VPN gateway, here's my VPN gateway, and this is pretty simple stuff. I'm defining my public and private addressing, as well as the certificates that are needed for that. One thing that I did skip over is I'm going to go and show you the device templates. And that is right here, those VLANs that were under my network allocation. Okay, how are those assigned besides being automatically assigned? You can also do this at the port level. So you can define what are called device templates for any of our APs or branch routers. And then you can assign very specific VLANs to each template that is assigned to your branch routers. And then you can do it either a trunk port or an access port. And you can also create different templates because you might have different port settings and needs at different branch sites. And you can do this all via templates. Last thing I want to show you here before I open it up to questions is this right here. And that is we're going to go back to the devices. And I want to take a quick look at my VGBA, my head-in VPN gateway right here. And I want to show you right here very quickly that I have a routing policy. And in that routing policy, we are indeed have OSPF turned on, and it is learning about a routed network. It's learning about these three networks. You can either define static routes as well, or you can, for internal networks, or you can let the protocol learn about the routes dynamically. And let's see if that information is actually being shared with all our clinics or healthcare clinics, which are the branch routers. So let's take a look. So first of all, back from this device view, there is my head-in, and these are my three branch routers, okay? And this is an indication that all the VPN tunnels are up. But what I want to do is I want to do on the head gateway, I want to make sure that OSPF is indeed operational and it's learning about the networks. And I'm going to do a show OSPF. Oops, show OSPF route. And yes, you can see it is indeed learning about all the corporate networks. Now let's go down to the branch site. I'm going to choose the Atlanta branch, and I'm going to show you two quick commands that everybody should know, and that's a show layer 3 interface, which will confirm that indeed the routed, the network allocation has worked at this branch site, and you can see it has. But let's see if it's also learned the routes from the hub spoke design that we have. We'll do a show layer 3 route. And yes, it is. So we're seeing the networks learned from the corporate network at headquarters, at the healthcare headquarters, as well as the routes back to the other remote sites and the other clinics. So you can see it's up and running. So with that, I'm going to ask one of my moderators, Ken, do we have any questions?
Sure we do, Dave. You might want to take this moment to take a drink of water and maybe breathe a couple of times. And we'll give you a question. One of the questions that came in was, does ExtremeCloud IQ support split tunneling?
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So let's do this. We'll go look at a network policy. And I have a right here. I think I have a network policy with a split tunnel set up. Yeah, so you can define routing policies. And by default, for both, we use split tunnels. This is actually our default setting. Because as I mentioned, we actually locally forward all the guest traffic. And this is basically the default setting. We can do split tunnels for both layer 3 or our layer 3 solution or our layer 2 solution. Additionally, you can tunnel, if you want to tunnel all the traffic, including the guest traffic up the VPN tunnel, you can, or you can even create custom tunnels. And with the custom tunnels, or excuse me, custom routing policies, and with the custom routing policies, you can choose very specific groups of users and then define, all right, you're going to forward the traffic locally, or are you going to forward the traffic up the VPN link? And you can even do this for different applications as well. Any other questions, Ken?
Absolutely. Let's see. Okay, we also had a question about URL filtering and what we have for support as far as URL filtering with this solution.
Yeah, so our layer 3 solution with the XR600 branch routers absolutely supports layer 3 filtering. So let's go take a look at this policy, my small clinic policy, and we'll go back into router settings. And let's see if I have a URL filtering policy, and I do. So I'm going to click on this URL filtering policy. And you can choose from a list of categories of certain kinds of web traffic you don't want people to see. So the policy that we created was one for gambling, okay? Because I have some colleagues that I work with that are heavy gamblers and we don't want them to be gambling. So what we can do is we just filter all that out. Additionally, you can blacklist individual users and you can also create a whitelist as well. And just to show you that that's working, I'm going to go back to the view right here. If I have enough time, and actually I've run out of time here, so I'm going to move on and talk about our next solution. I focus mainly on layer 2, so layer 3. So what I'm going to do quickly is show you a quick video that I made with my colleague Erica Bagby about teleworker solutions using layer 2 VPNs with any ExtremeCloud AP.
The stark rise in teleworking needs amplifies the demand of the extension of corporate resources delivered remotely. Simplicity and agility are two attributes you'll want to seamlessly enable this transition while keeping your business secure. ExtremeCloud IQ does just that with the auto-provisioning of Layer 2 VPNs straight from the cloud, enabling employees to stay productive at home, connecting to the corporate SSIDs mapped to the corporate VLANs and subnets, all accessible through the VPN tunnel and extended where you need them. There are two workflows you want to consider. There's the IT administrator and the end user. So starting with the IT administrator, you'll want to make sure you have a predefined network policy with Layer 2 VPN services enabled. And it's very simple to configure. Your VPN server is accessible under Managed Devices, which is the first requirement. You can operate in a Layer 2 or a Layer 3 mode, and here you'll see the different configuration options that have already been configured for this policy. It's been pre-configured with the corporate SSID and the authentication requirements. If you don't already have the policy configured, you can easily set that up under Additional Settings, Network Services, and then Layer 2 IPsec VPN services. The pool of resources listed here are for the remote APs. These are going to be the pool of IP addresses they'll be using inside the IPsec VPN tunnel when connecting from home. You can also enable VPN access for a specific user profile. You can set up multiple user profiles and have them assigned to a unique corporate VLAN mapped to a corporate subnet. Now on to the end user experience. We definitely want to make sure this is simple and easy for the remote worker to set up their VPN services without having to require too much. Before you ship the remote user their new AP, you'll want to take some provisioning steps ahead of time. We'll want to add a new user access to the corporate VPN. So this begins with just adding the new remote worker's device. In this case, we'll be adding the Atom AP130. You just input the serial number of the device, choose the location, which is someone's house in this case, Select the pre-configured policy and just click Add. Instantly, you'll see the device in the database of ExtremeCloud IQ. It is red because it hasn't been connected by the end user from their home. So then you ship the device, the end user receives the package via mail, and all they need to do is connect the AP to their router at home. The AP gets an IP address as soon as it's connected to the local gateway. And in an experiment I did with my colleague, we had him time how long it took for his AP to connect to ExtremeCloud IQ. And you can see in just a few minutes, the device is now green in the cloud dashboard. And then it contacts ExtremeCloud IQ, downloads the teleworker network policy, and the device sets up the VPN tunnel without any additional effort from the remote worker, which tells me this new remote user is off to the races. Of course, the green status color will indicate that it's up and running, but let's just confirm with Show IP Tunnel. Confirming the remote worker is connected properly from their home, a quick test would be to just connect to the corporate SSID that should now be visible in their devices. And we can see connectivity is a go. So keep in mind simplicity, ease of use, agility, and scalability with ExtremeCloud IQ as you adjust for your teleworking needs. Thank you for watching, and make sure to check out new videos each month on the many features available in ExtremeCloud IQ.
Okay, so I think the main takeaway from the lovely Erica and her video is that how easy it is, the zero-touch provisioning. You literally plug in the AP at the remote teleworker site, it calls home and sets up a VPN and extends the corporate network. Ken, how am I doing on time?
Dave, you have about 90 seconds left, so you probably have a chance to show them the last slide, tell them where to go, and close it out.
Okay, so I had hoped to have a little bit more time to show you guys some troubleshooting tools, but since we're out of time, I do want you to know we have all kinds of VPN troubleshooting tools that are very, very simplistic and can help you pinpoint the problem on either phase 1 or phase 2 issues with IPsec. And it can all be done remotely from the cloud, and it makes it very, very easy to troubleshoot very specific problems, whether they're networking or certificate based. And finally, I want to thank everybody for the questions. Thank you for the time. Hopefully next time I'll have a little bit more time to present. But if we didn't get to your question, here you go, the hub. So this is a great place to check out, find answers to questions, and ask questions in the future. Thanks, everybody. Hope to see you soon.